Hello, and welcome back to yet another video. This is the 16th episode in a Naruto Uzumaki story in which a few little changes might have a significant impact. Knowledge provided early in Naruto's career converted him from a hopeless loser to a powerful and skilled shinobi. Historical differences that have long ago passed have resulted in a totally different consequence than we imagined. After you've finished watching, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. To begin, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Let's get the party started.
It took a total of 5 days for the group of 4 people and 1 pig to reach Konoha. They could have gone faster, of course, but both Jiraiya and Tsunade wanted to go slowly. Though they were for entirely different reasons, Tsunade seemed to want to just take her time and enjoy her freedom before she became tied down to a desk, while Jiraiya simply wanted to hit on Tsunade before she became tied down to her desk. Though at least one of their reasons were similar. This desire to hit on Tsunade, which was less flirting and more of him just blatantly asking her to strip or flash her tits, often endeared white-haired man to said woman's fists, much to Naruto's amusement, Shizune's chagrin and Tsunade's annoyance. Of course, none of them had expected any less from the self-proclaimed super pervert of the elemental nations. During that time Naruto had also taken to spending a lot of his time with Tsunade and Shizune, talking and getting to know the two better. He ended up getting along extremely well with both of them, much to Jiraiya's annoyance. When Jiraiya expressed his annoyance at Naruto getting along with all the women, Shizune simply stated that when the blonde spoke with them he did not blatantly stare at their chests. Tsunade had simply hit him hard enough to send him flying several dozen feet in the air. Aside from that, Naruto had also begun to spend more time with Kyubi and had learned several interesting facts about the vixen. Flashback. As night came, Naruto found himself standing outside of the entrance to Kyubi's home. He knocked on the door and waited for a few seconds as he heard shuffling on the other side. When it opened, he saw Kyubi standing there and blinking at him for a moment. "Hey Q," Naruto said unsurely. After their last encounter, Naruto felt confused about what his relationship with this woman was and thus, was not really sure how to talk to her. Kyubi seemed to notice this, however, and smirked as she opened the door wider to let him in. "Hello Naruto-kun, come on in." Naruto walked into the house, listening to Kyubi shut the door behind him before she moved over to the bed and sat on it. He raised an eyebrow when she patted the spot next to her, but relented and sat down in the indicated spot. "So what do you want to talk about?" Kyubi gave a shrug. "I'm not really sure, to be honest. I've never actually taken the time to have an intelligent conversation with anyone. And I know everything there is to know about you, so talking about yourself is kind of pointless." Naruto frowned for a moment. "Then do you mind if I ask you about yourself?" "About myself?" Kyubi questioned as she looked at him. "What do you mean?" "I mean..." Naruto paused for a moment before continuing. "Can I ask you about your past?" "You don't have to tell me everything," he added at seeing her look, "but I know very little about your history." "Well, except from what I've heard from the history, but that doesn't really tell me about you." "No, I suppose it doesn't." Kyubi's face scrunched up for a moment in a thoughtful expression that Naruto found surprisingly endearing. It relaxed a moment later. "Very well, ask your questions and I will tell you what I can. However, I may not answer depending on the question." "Fair enough," he started, only to stop as Kyubi set her head in his lap. What are you doing?" "What?" asked Kyubi as she looked up at him. "Do you have a problem with this?" "Well, I suppose not. I just did not think you were into, well this," Naruto gestured to the vixen. "You've always seemed to abhor physical contact of any kind." "I don't hate it," Kyubi said before as she struggled to find a comfortable position. "It's just that I've never found anyone worthy of having physical contact with." "And I am?" asked Naruto with an eyebrow raised in surprise. "You're coming closer than anyone else has," Kyubi replied as she finally got into a good position and snuggled deeper into the blonde's lap, eliciting a small squawk of embarrassment from Naruto. "Ah, does Naruto-kun like that?" she teased as she moved her head, causing the blonde to jump. What the hell are you doing, Kyubi?" Naruto shouted as he jumped out from under the red head. Kyubi frowned as she set herself on her elbow and looked at the blonde who was now off of the bed and staring at her like she was some kind of diseased animal. What? Did that bother you? I thought you would have liked being so close to such a beautiful woman. She frowned as she wondered if she had done something wrong. According to those Ika books Naruto had read, this kind of thing was how members of the opposite sex acted around each other. And she had seen more than enough perverted men in her lifetime to know that they all loved girls who acted like this. It has nothing to do with me liking it, Naruto exclaimed. I still don't really know you. You can't expect us to be that close. Physically without even knowing each other. Blinking a bit, Kyubi tilted her head in confusion. Then how do we act around each other? Naruto gave her an exasperated look. You've lived for at least 2,000 years and you don't know how to act around people? I thought you would have known what to do considering you've always hid amongst humans. Kyubi bristled a bit when Naruto said she hid, but knew he was not saying she was being a coward and let it slide. Naruto-kun, the humans I was around were nothing more than slaves. Most of the time I had their mind completely warped and they were able to do nothing more than follow my orders. The few humans who tried to talk to me when I did not want to were usually either charmed and became mindless drones, or I got rid of them when they became persistent. Naruto felt a slight amount of disgust when he heard what Kyubi did to people but let it slide since they were trying to. He paused. What were they trying to do? Start a friendship? Become comrades? Learn to accept each other? Or were they just trying to tolerate the other? He shook his head and dispelled the thoughts for now since they were not relevant to the situation. Since we're just starting out, it would be best if physical contact was kept to a minimum. Once we get to know each other more and if we end up becoming more comfortable with each other, then we can think about physical contact. He tried to dispel the thought on how odd it was that he was teaching the Kyubi no Kitsune about human relations and interaction. Said woman frowned for a moment before relenting. Very well, we'll do this your way. Not like she knew any other way to interact with others, at least none that would end up with her in a favorable position. She patted the spot next to her again and watched as Naruto hesitantly sat back down. She looked at him for a moment before speaking again. So what would you like to know? Naruto scratched his chin in thought. Well, how about we start from the beginning? Like how were you born? Kyubi looked at him for a few seconds and for a moment Naruto thought she was not going to answer. However, a second later she began to speak. I suppose I could tell you that. To be honest, I have no real clue on just how I came into being. The first thing I remember when I first woke up, I guess you could say, was being in the middle of a forest surrounded by trees and all kinds of wildlife. I remember finding a small pond and looking into the reflected surface to see myself looking at a small fox no larger than a kit, with 9 tails swishing behind me. However, I knew right from the beginning that I was not just an ordinary fox, and I didn't need the fact that I had 9 tails to tell me otherwise. I had knowledge in my head, knowledge of the human language, knowledge of the different creatures of the world and all the general things that most humans learn in school. Aside from that, all the other animals of the forest avoided me like the plague. They instinctively knew my power and knew I was dangerous. From the very beginning I knew what I was. I was a chakra beast, a being made of compressed chakra that had somehow gained a form of intelligence. I remember traveling the forests for several years after that. Eventually I had grown into the size of a large horse. Around that time I was unsure what to do with my life. I knew neither where I came from nor where I was going. Naruto frowned as he watched Kyubi's shoulders slump for a moment and saw an odd reflective look in her eyes. Deciding that maybe a little contact was okay between them, he put an arm around her shoulder. That must have been lonely. Kyubi looked up at Naruto with a startled expression, but it soon gave way to a smile that looked decidedly out of place on her, as if she did not really know how to give an honest smile. I suppose it was. But then, I was always alone. Even when I took on a human guise I was alone, the only being of my kind. It was something I got used to over time. What about the other bijou? Asked Naruto. Kyubi scoffed. Please do not lump me in with those brutes, Naruto-kun. I had not known about them for several hundred years, and the only reason I found out was because I met one and it tried to eat me. The other bijou were nothing more than mindless beasts, causing untold destruction and pointless death. They are all nothing more than extraordinarily simple-minded creatures with a large amount of power. I think I remember telling you this, Naruto-kun. What about you? You've never caused pointless death and destruction. There was a hint of irony in the blonde's voice. Not of my own making, Kyubi shot back. I have never liked doing pointless things, or things that were beneath me. Killing humans as a pastime was simply beneath me, because humans in general were beneath my notice. Instead of killing them, I decided to find a use for them. Humans are such short-lived creatures, and while some are intelligent, most are notoriously weak-willed and stupid. I found enjoyment in getting them to serve me. As I already told you, I would often disguise myself as the daughter of a daimyo or some other rich noble. I would use simple illusions and charms that I had created to seduce men and have them wait on me hand and foot. I found it much more appealing than running around blasting everything into oblivion. Now I believe I've talked about myself enough. If you want to find out more, you'll have to impress me enough to tell you. Flashback end. It was actually really interesting learning more about the demon inside of him. Naruto was positive that no one else knew these things about Kyubi, and to be honest, it made him secretly pleased. Although she had yet to tell him anything other than what she remembered of her birth. She had apparently been serious when she had told him he was going to have to find some way to impress her, something he, as of yet, had no clue how to do. As Naruto and the others arrived into Konoha, it was to see the interesting sight of all the shocked faces that the villagers were sporting upon seeing none other than Tsunade walking within the village walls again. As they all walked through to the Hokage Tower, Naruto decided to listen into the smattering of whispers that came from the local populace. I can't believe it. Tsunade-sama is back. Now we have both Jiraiya-sama and Tsunade-sama. It is great tidings for the future to see our two strongest ninja in the village. Hey, isn't that the Uzumaki brat? What is he doing with such distinct shinobi? Maybe Tsunade-sama managed to use her grandfather's Mokuton and is finally reining the brat in. Naruto snorted as he listened to the last few bits of conversation before they were away from the major population. Can you believe this shit, Kyo-chan? Within the mindscape, Kyubi frowned as she sat on her bed, her tail swaying in a bit of agitation. Of course I can. Humans always hate and fear things that are beyond their comprehension. It takes a lot of effort to get a human to change their opinion about something, especially on a subject they have believed for so long, like them thinking you are me in human flesh. Honestly, the stupidity of humankind is one of those things that never ceases to amaze me. This is one of the reasons I've always held contempt for humans. Naruto frowned. Well, they weren't all bad. He had heard a few people who had suggested that Naruto had taken part in returning Tsunade to the village, but they were in the extreme minority, meaning only 1 out of every 5 people or so. At least the ninja of the village were paying him respect. He had seen many of the ninja who had passed him nodding their heads at him in a sign of respect. Obviously they had seen more of his actions during the Chunin exams and invasion afterwards. That's still too low after everything you've done. You defeated Sabaku no Gara and the Shikaku. You were the sole reason this village is still standing and not several hundred feet under sand. Naruto sighed. Can't win them all so soon, I guess. Whatever, I prefer challenges anyways. Within the seal, Kyubi stopped her mouth in mid-rant as Naruto's words registered in her ears. After a few moments' pause, she shook her head. I really have found a 1 in a million container in you, haven't I, Naruto-kun? You're so different from everyone else. She paused for a moment before sighing. You truly deserve far more than these lowly humans could ever give you. Naruto blushed a bit. Wow, laying it on a little thick, aren't you? Kyubi growled. Shut up, I was trying to be nice. Sorry, you know I was just teasing. Naruto let out a mental chuckle that rung across the mindscape. These humans don't give me the respect and kindness I deserve, huh? Maybe that's why I have you. Kyubi felt her face getting oddly hot and cursed at the known yet at the same time unknown to her feeling, charmer. Naruto chuckled again and cut the mental conversation as he and the others entered a meeting room within the Hokage Tower. Much to the disgruntlement of Tsunade, it was to find Hamura and Koharu waiting for them. "Welcome home, Tsunade-sama," Hamura greeted with a smile. "It is good to see you back." Tsunade resisted the urge to roll her eyes as she plastered a diplomatic smile on her face. "It is good to be back. For the most part. There are still a few painful memories when I look at this place, but I guess those will pass with time." The elders who had frowned at the start of her little speech soon turned back to smiles. "That is good to hear, though I do regret that this place still holds pain for you, Tsunade-sama." Koharu said, "Now to get started, we are planning on having your announcement and coronation for the position of Hokage later tomorrow. That way you will have time to refamiliarize yourself with the village since much has changed in the time you have been gone." Naruto stopped the sigh that threatened to escape him as the elders got on with their boring speech about who knows what. He briefly wondered why he was still here. It was not like they needed him or anything. His mission was done, and really he just wanted to sleep. "Hey Bachan, you don't need me for this part, do you?" asked Naruto, getting the attention of everyone in the room. The reactions he received from the elders were somewhat amusing. Hamura's jaw had unhinged itself for all of 2 seconds before he glared at the blonde-haired boy. Koharu was similar, her reaction, only it was much more pronounced as the sagging skin of her jaw quivered. Tsunade, noticing the reactions of the two elders, sighed, "Go on brat, get some rest." "Thanks Bachan, I'll see you and Ero-sennin later." After I get in a good sleep on my crappy mattress, Naruto took off, leaving the room behind. As Naruto began walking out of the Hokage Tower, he came upon an interesting scene. "Konohamaru, get out of there now." Two Chunin, by the looks of their flak jackets, were pounding on the door to the Hokage's office. Standing beside them were Moegi and Udon, who were looking rather worried. The two Chunin who were continuing to pound on the door and demanding Konohamaru to come out were answered by several pepper spray pellets hitting them on the head and caused their eyes to tear. "What's the problem here?" Moegi and Udon both turned to see Naruto. "Boss." Moegi ran up to Naruto as he walked over to them. "Boss. Konohamaru-kun has locked himself inside of the office. He refuses to come out." "Oh, does he?" asked Naruto as he walked up to the door, and the two Chunin who were still hacking and wheezing, "You two may want to stand back." Naruto did not wait for an answer as he ran up and heel-kicked the door, smashing it in and sending it flying to the far side of the wall. Several blunt kunai and smoke pellets were launched at the blonde, but Naruto released a blast of wind and sent them also flying to the far wall. Naruto strode into the room and quickly picked up Konohamaru by his scarf, bringing him out kicking and screaming. "Hey! Let me go! Let me go! I don't want to leave." "Shut up Yagaki," Naruto conked him on the head before disappearing within a shunshin. The pair reappeared on top of the Hokage monument and Naruto set Konohamaru down before sitting down himself. The blonde looked amused as Konohamaru pouted and looked away from him. "You know, if you're gonna act like some spoiled gaki, then this is gonna be a lot harder." When Konohamaru remained silent, Naruto sighed, "So what's your problem, kid?" "Nothing." Konohamaru mumbled out. "Don't give me that. Either you tell me what's wrong or I'll be sure to hang you on the flag post outside the Hokage's tower in nothing but your underwear." Konohamaru paled at the thought of that, and he knew from experience that when Naruto said he would do something, that it was not just some idle threat. Sighing, Konohamaru looked out over the village and tears began to leak from his eyes. "My Ajizan died, boss. He died to protect this village. But everyone's already moving on with their lives. It's like my Ajizan didn't even exist. They're just forgetting about him. Moving on, we even have a new Hokage. But I don't want to move on. I don't want to forget about my Ajizan, boss. I can't." Naruto ran a hand through his hair at the kid's near hysterical voice. a part of him could not help but wonder if he was that stupid and naive as a child. "Do you want me to answer that?" came the sly voice of the vixen in his mind. "No thanks, I can do without having my awesome childhood image of myself destroyed." Naruto placed a hand on the younger kid's shoulders. "Listen Ko, no one has forgotten Hokage Ajisen. You're forgetting that he ruled this place for many years. In fact, he has the longest reign in the entire history of Konoha. He has done so many things for this village that it will be impossible for others to simply forget him. When someone touches as many lives as he did, people don't just forget about it when that person is no longer around. Even with him gone, his memory will always remain in the hearts of those who live here." "Really?" Konohamaru sniffled a little bit. Naruto smiled at the kid. "Of course." His smile turned a little wistful. "And you know what, did I think Ajisen was happy with the way he died?" Naruto looked at the little boy who had shock on his features. Ajisen was getting up there in his years. I never wanted to admit it to myself since I always saw him as this eternal pillar of strength. But you know, there were times when I was in his office and I caught sight of just how truly tired he looked. We normally don't see it, but he was getting weary. He held the title of Hokage for somewhere upwards of 50 years, and he kept this place strong through the Second and Third Shinobi War, while fighting in another one. I get the feeling he was getting tired of it and wanted to pass on the torch of Hokage to someone else. But how could that have anything to do with him liking the way he died? Konohamaru shouted as he stood up. "My Ajisen was murdered. He died protecting the village Ko," Naruto said in a rare and quiet voice. "He died protecting the people of this village and battling against an enemy ninja. He died like a Hokage, nobly sacrificing his life to protect this place even though he was getting on in his years. Can you think of a better way to go?" Konohamaru looked at Naruto for several minutes before he sighed and slumped down next to the blonde. "Well, when put it like that, that's pretty deep, boss." Naruto grinned as he threw an arm around Konohamaru's shoulder. "Ko, you'll find that when you get to be as awesome as I am, deep shit like this just rolls off the tongue. Now, are you gonna mope and bitch like Sasuke team anymore? I wasn't that bad, was I, boss?" Naruto laughed at Konohamaru's petrified voice. "Ko, you were so bad that if you hadn't been hiding in the Hokage's office while you decided to brood, the team's fangirls would have probably thought you were him." Now, Naruto stood up and gave Konohamaru a pat on the shoulder and sent the kid on his way. Naruto was just about to leave when a new voice spoke up. "You know, that was quite the speech you gave the young boy, very moving if I do say so myself." Turning around, Naruto found himself staring at an old man who looked to be around Sarutobi's age. He was wearing a white robe with bandages wrapped around his left eye and right arm. He walked with a cane held in the other arm. He had several scars on his face which had a crop of messy brown hair. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the man as he analyzed him. "I didn't even sense his approach until he was right on top of me. That kind of skill is above most jonin nowadays." It was the one thing he had always been good at, it was stealth and detection. That this man could get so close to him and not be found until he revealed himself meant he was good. However, Naruto did not sense any hostile intent, and so he gave the man a grin. "Well, thanks, but it was nothing really. I just happen to be totally cool and amazing at this kind of thing." Indeed, the man seemed amused, but Naruto could not really tell. The blonde watched as the bandaged man walked up to him and looked out at the village. "Tell me, boy, did you mean those words back there?" Naruto raised an eyebrow. "You know, if you're going to talk to me, the least you could do is give me your name." "Ah, my apologies, Uzumaki-san, my name is Danzo." The now named man looked towards him. "Well, it seems you already know my name." Naruto looked at him and decided that since he had no hostile intent, he could sit back down. "Since you were up here spying on me, I take it you wanted to talk. You are quite perceptive." Danzo looked at the boy. "It seems your academy records are greatly biased towards you." No, those were actually pretty accurate. I was an idiot back then." Naruto grinned. Amazing what 6 months of actual training can do. If Danzo was surprised by that information though he did not show it, I was wondering if you would be interested in helping me to protect this beautiful village. I have a need of strong individuals who are willing to do what is necessary to get the things that need to be done. Naruto stared long and hard at the man before speaking. From the sounds of your speech it sounds like you're offering me a part in a branch of a military, your military. And if you're asking me when I'm alone like this, then that means you do not have the Hokage's approval. I've read about you in some of the history books I've read. He took a moment to shudder. Even if it was his clones doing it, the memories were still torture. You are Shimura Danzo, former commander of Root, a branch that was separate from the standard military and did not answer to the Hokage, though Root was supposed to be disbanded a long time ago. Danzo's one eye narrowed just a bit. I see you're able to come up with a few sound theories when only given a few facts. Naruto shrugged. It's a skill. I'll tell you right now that I have no interest in joining your forces. However, I won't tell the Hokage about them either, since I can tell that you are at least sincere in your desire to protect Konoha. I would, however, suggest being more careful with whom you try to recruit next time. With those parting words, Naruto left within a shunshin. Uzumaki Naruto, you are a most interesting character. I will look forward to seeing what you do in the future. Naruto sighed as he finally got into his room. He would not admit it to anyone who asked, but he was tired. The mission to find Tsunade had been like all the other missions he had been on, more trouble than it was really worth. Not particularly caring enough to actually get undressed, the blonde shinobi simply flopped down on his bed where he decided to sleep for at least 16 hours and spend time with Kyubi in his mindscape. 16-something hours later. Naruto groaned as he heard a knock on his door, though it was more like a loud banging than anything. Grunting, Naruto got up and made his way out of his room and over to the door. When he opened it, it was to find one Higurashi Tenten staring him down with an intense glare. Hey Tenchan, can I help you? Tenten's mouth became a thin line. You left without saying goodbye. Naruto took a small step back as Tenten took one forward. Oh great, not again. What is it with this girl and getting angry at me? Well, Tenten did not seem interested in listening to what he had to say as she stomped into the room and began making him back up. Not only did you leave, but you left on a mission to find Tsunade-sama and you didn't even tell me. Oh. Naruto knew he was in deep shit now. Well, just to be square, I didn't even know I was going to be looking for her until like 2 days into the mission. That's not the point. Tenten poked him in the chest, making him take a step back. Unfortunately, his couch was right behind him, so when he tried to take a step back he ended up falling backwards onto the couch. Now that it seemed to stop the bun-haired girl in her tirade as she moved around the couch to glare at him upside down, which was actually kind of comical. Give me one good reason I shouldn't turn you into a pin cushion. Because now you get to see your idol every day? Naruto spoke in a questioning tone. Tenten looked at him for several long minutes before sighing. Honestly, Naruto-kun, what am I going to do with you? Realizing the danger had passed for the most part, Naruto sat upright on his couch. I'm not sure what you're implying, Tenchan. No, of course not. Tenten chuckled a bit before sitting on the couch. Before he knew what was happening, the bun-haired girl was right next to him with stars in her eyes. So, what's Tsunade-sama like? I bet it was so incredible being with such a powerful and strong kunoichi. Did you get see her do anything amazing? Do you think you can introduce us? Naruto leaned slightly back as Tenten continued to pound him with questions that he had no answer to, mainly because she was asking them so quickly he could barely keep up. Tenchan, you need to slow down. Naruto tried to get her to stop talking. You're talking too fast. Tenten realized what she was doing and blushed. Sorry Naruto-kun, I'm just so excited that Tsunade-sama is here. She won't be excited once she learns that Bachan is nothing but an old drunk. Naruto decided to keep that thought to himself so as not to ruin the poor girl's preconceived notions of her hero. Well, how about later I introduce you to her? the moment Naruto said that he instantly regretted it as Tenten got hearts in her eyes. You would do that for me? Really? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Tenten latched onto Naruto's neck and began to squeeze the blonde-haired boy, who soon enough began turning blue. Oh, thank you so much, Naruto-kun, you have no idea how much this means to me, Naruto-kun. Tenten looked at her blonde-haired companion to see him passed out with a blue face and swirls in his eyes. Naruto-kun. Tsunade sighed as she sat at her desk and rifled through some papers. There was so much for her to do. She had to deal with the estimated casualty ratings, damage reports, refamiliarizing herself with the shinobi of the village and set the village budget as well as relegate missions for the ninja. That's not even going into all the meetings she had to go to since they still needed to deal with the Suna situation. As she was leafing through the piles of paperwork, her eyes landed on the recommendation sheet for the Chunin exams. Picking it up, her eyes scanned it and she felt herself smirk. She signaled for her ANBU, making a man wearing a bear mask appear before her. Get me Uzumaki Naruto. Man, I can't believe you got to see a battle with all three of the Sannin. Tenten whined, I swear Naruto-kun, you're so lucky. Naruto chuckled a bit, believe me, there is nothing lucky about the shit I get into. After Naruto had woken up from the death grip Tenten had placed on him, the pair had gone out to get some ramen. Having paced himself this time, Naruto was only on his 14th bowl while Tenten was finishing up her first. As they ate, he had told her all about his mission to bring Tsunade back. Well, not everything. He neglected to tell her key parts, like him getting stabbed twice and some other things that he felt would destroy the girl's image of Tsunade. I don't know how you can say that. I mean, you got to meet the Sannin, you're being trained by a Sannin and you always seem to go on so many adventures, Tenten concluded. Yeah, and I usually end up getting my ass kicked by people who are ridiculously stronger than me. Naruto shook his head. It's nowhere near the adventure you think it is. Tenten pouted at that and was about to say something when a masked ANBU appeared within a shunshin right next to them. Uzumaki-san, Tsunade-sama would like to see you. Naruto looked at the bear-masked ANBU and sighed, alright, tell her I'll be there shortly. The ANBU nodded and disappeared. Naruto turned to Tenten, looks like I'm gonna have to cut this short, I'll see you later, okay Ten-chan? Tenten gave soft, depressed sigh. She had been hoping to spend a little more time with Naruto. Yeah, I'll see you later. Naruto placed a hand over hers and gave it a soft squeeze before disappearing in a shunshin. You called Bachan? Tsunade turned her head and gave Naruto a disgruntled look as she saw him crouched on the windowsill. Gaki, haven't you ever heard of a door? Naruto snorted as he stepped into the office. Doors are for losers, Bachan. He sat down in front of Tsunade's desk and gave her a grin. So what did you need to see me for? Tsunade looked at him and grinned as she tossed him a scroll. I wanted to see you to congratulate you on your promotion, Gaki. Naruto unsealed the contents of his scroll and grinned as he saw the green Chunin flak jacket. Awesome. I knew they would have to promote me after I kicked ass in the Chunin exams. Naruto resealed the jacket since he did not really feel like wearing something so bulky. So does that mean I'm going to be getting better missions than those D-rank terrors? Tsunade smirked, of course, with the village in the situation it's in we need all the help we can get. As a Chunin you'll be instructed to go on higher ranked missions with other Chunins and Jonins. You will also be called upon to lead Genin on some missions since most of their Jonin senseis are being assigned to tougher missions. Naruto nodded before frowning. What about Team 7? He was not really sure whether he really liked being on that team or not. Kakashi was nice enough, and occasionally the other two were, but they never really had any serious team dynamics. You'll still go on occasional missions with them too. But because you're a Chunin you will only be with them when I assign a higher ranked mission. Naruto nodded at the woman's answer. Makes sense, is that all you need me for? Tsunade nodded, yep, that's all, Gaki. Come back in a day or two and I'll have a mission for you. Naruto stood and jumped back onto the windowsill. I'll see you later Bachan. He jumped out just as she threw a paperweight at his head, laughing as he landed on a roof below. Damn Gaki, Tsunade grumbled under breath. Naruto soon found himself in the forest of death, having decided that since he had gotten his 16-hour sleep it would be a good idea to start training. As he walked into his usual clearing, the blonde's senses went on high alert, forcing him to jump out of the way as several snakes came at him. Kitsune Bai. Naruto opened his mouth. As he channeled his Yuki into a single point there. The swirling purple energy could be seen as a condensed ball in his mouth, right before it burst into a light blue flame and shot out, destroying the snakes before they could do anything else. While he had been launching his attack, the blonde had followed the snake's trail to see where they had been. He created his Yuki whip and sent the purple string of energy up into the tree branches where the leaves were thickest. This had the inherent effect of making Anko, who had been watching him almost as soon as he entered the forest, jump out and land on the ground some distance away. Said woman launched several kunai almost as soon as she hit the ground, began going through a set of hand seals and calling out a jutsu, Kunai Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. The kunai multiplied into several dozen, all of them heading towards Naruto. However, the blonde was not deterred in the least as he unsealed his bow staff and began spinning it in an ever-increasingly complex pattern. As he continued, he charged wind chakra through the staff and unleashed a blast of wind with every movement he made. Unlike a sword, where this would have made a cutting motion due to a blade's sharp edge, the staff created gusts of wind that knocked the kunai off course. When all of the kunai had been cleared, Naruto resealed his staff and launched a kunai of his own from the gauntlet on his wrist. At the same time he made several one-handed seals that caused the kunai he sent to multiply into 10. Naruto smirked when he noticed the slight widening of Anko's eyes, signifying her surprise at his ability to do a technique without saying the name. It didn't last long, however, as 2 kunai slid into the snake mistress's hand and she began deflecting and dodging the projectiles. While she was doing that, Naruto was running in close and by the time she had finished dodging had his 2 hands linked together by their thumbs and thrust them out, Futon, Kamikaze Seiken. The air shimmered as the wind in the shape of Naruto's fist hit Anko and sent her flying into a tree, where the force of her impact created a large crater. Naruto was not surprised when Anko turned into mud. Nor was he surprised when several snakes shot out from some bushes a dozen feet away and latched onto him. A second later they sunk their fangs into him and Naruto exploded. You know, that was pretty close. Anko's eyes widened as she heard Naruto's voice behind and jumped away just in time to dodge his next strike. Using one hand as a springboard, she flipped herself up and spun in midair, tossing a kunai at the blonde who merely caught in between his fingers. Landing back on the ground, she eyed the blonde a moment before favoring him with a smirk. You know, you've gotten pretty good. 6 months ago, had this fought like this, it would have been over almost before it began. What can I say? Naruto grinned as he rolled the kunai in his hands between his fingers. I had an amazing teacher, a crazy, sadistic, psychotic bitch, but an amazing one. He sent the kunai flying back at Anko, who caught it in her hand and returned it to him at an increased speed. You say such kind things about me, Gaki. Naruto grinned as he sent a kunai from his launcher to intercept Anko's. You know you love it. Anko stuck her tongue out before thrusting out her hands, Sanaijishu. Several more snakes were launched out. However, Naruto had come to expect that and had unsealed his katana and ran straight at the snakes. He sliced right through them before continuing on to Anko, who grinned and let 2 kunai fall into her hands as she met his charge head-on. She blocked the first strike with her left kunai, and then sent out her right hand in a slash that would slit Naruto's throat. However, the blonde was quick enough to disengage his blade with Anko's and intercepted the attack. Using his strength, Naruto pushed her back and then spun around, swinging his blade in a horizontal slash at waist height. Rather than block the slash, which she knew would send her off balance due to the blonde's increased strength, jumped back and let the blade pass through the spot she had been. The battle paused and the two eyed each other wearily, before on some unspoken signal they charged again. Naruto came in with an overhand swing that Enko blocked with one kunai, grunting as she felt her knees buckle behind his strength, but she stayed strong as she lashed out at him with her other kunai. Naruto jumped over her attack, flipping himself around in midair and aimed a slash at Enko's head. The purplet seemed to have plans other than getting her cranium split down the center however, as she ducked under the slash and rolled forward. She came up on her feet and spun around just in time to block the attack that came at her, but was forced to channel chakra to her feet to keep from sliding back. They clashed again, Enko's two kunai meeting Naruto's katana as they attempted to push each other back. However, Enko seemed to have planned this as she suddenly took away her blades, letting Naruto fall off balance as she lashed out with a kick, taking his legs out from under him. Naruto hit the ground with a boomph, landing on his back before he was forced to roll out of the way when Enko tried to stomp a mud hole in his stomach. He pushed himself into a series of flips as he tried to gain some distance. As soon as he landed on his feet he was forced to dodge several kunai as Enko began charging him, launching them as she closed the distance. Naruto resealed his katana as he inhaled a deep breath, futon, de tapa. He blew out a huge gust of wind, forcing Enko to stop and ground herself with chakra, lest she get blown away. When the attack ended it was for Enko to see Naruto already next to her, and it was only instincts that saved her from getting hit. As Naruto's fist came in Enko swerved her body just ever so slightly to the side, letting it pass by. As she used her left hand to swat it away. This had the benefit of knocking Naruto off balance and letting her take a shot at his throat. Thankfully Naruto was able to see the attack coming and was saved by creating a Kage Bunshin without hand seals before Kawarimi ing with it. Heh, you really have gotten better Gaki. That last attack would have gotten anyone below Naichan's level, Enko smirked when she saw a grinning Naruto come out of a bush to her right. As I said, I had a good teacher. Naruto walked up to her, so any reason you attacked me, other than to greet your favorite Gaki? I heard you went on a mission with a certain white-haired pervert to find Tsunade-sama, Naruto chuckled a bit, knowing she was looking for details. I did, it was pretty interesting to say the least. If you want I'll tell you more about it over some dango and sake. Just let me make some Kage Bunshin to do some training. Enko grinned, alright Gaki, and since we're going to have sake maybe we can see how well you can hold your liquor. Naruto grinned as he downed another shot of sake. He looked over at his drinking partner in amusement, had enough Enko? Enko tried to glare at him, but considering she was seeing quadruplets, she was not quite sure which one to glare at. Yet even drunk she could see that infernal smirk on his face, after all it was magnified by 4. Ho, how come you're not wasted? You should be a lightweight. Thanks to Kyuubi and his own demonic properties Naruto was not even sure he could get drunk. Not that he was going to tell her that, she might accuse him of cheating, this just goes to show you how incredible I am. I'm talented at anything I set my mind to and that includes drinking you under the table. Oh yeah. Enko growled out before downing another shot. Naruto merely smirked as he followed suit. 20 minutes and Kami only knows how many shots later Naruto was laughing his ass off while Enko was passed out on the table, snoring lightly while a small amount of drool escaped her mouth. Naruto stood up and picked up Enko, being mindful not to get her drool on his shirt. Walking over to the bar he got the attention of the owner who worked there, a man named Kenshin, who after having Naruto come in with Enko regularly for the past few months no longer held any animosity towards the blonde. He looked at the passed-out woman in Naruto's arms and smirked, something I can help you with? Naruto grinned, yeah, put our night on her tab. He gestured to the snoring Enko. Kenshin chuckled, you know she's gonna kill you right? Meh, I can deal with it, Naruto shrugged. Well alright, if you're sure, Kenshin said before handing him Enko's bill. Naruto held it between his fingers and grinned as he disappeared within a shunshin. It was early in the morning and Naruto was grinning to himself as he threw aside the curtain to his favorite ramen stand. Taking a seat at his stool his grin widened as the heavenly aroma of ramen hit his nose. Oi. Tuchi-ajazen. I'm ready to get my fill and make up for lost time. Both Tuchi and Ayam came out from the back and one grinned while the other smiled. Well, look who came back from the dead. You know, we haven't seen you for a while. We were wondering where our favorite customer went. Yeah, Ero Senin had me tag along while he went to go bring back Tsunade-bachan, remember? The blonde clapped his hands together. Now I believe I'll start off with 4 bowls of miso, 2 bowls of beef, 1 bowl of shrimp and oh what the hell, 2 bowls of vegetable. Comin' right up. Tuchi grinned as he went to make the ramen. Meanwhile Ayam leaned over the counter and propped her face on the butt of her hands, giving the boy who she had known since he was 6 a grin. So anything new happening, Naruto-kun? Naruto clicked his tongue for a moment in thought. Not too much. Oh. I did get promoted to Chunin yesterday. Chunin, huh? Ayam turned her head to look at her dad. You hear that too, San? Looks like our little Naruto just got promoted to Chunin. I guess that means the first one will be on the house then. Tuchi shouted back as he came in with a bowl of steaming ramen. Here you go, kid. Oh hell yeah. Naruto grabbed onto a pair of chopsticks and with a shout of itadakimasu dug in. So what do you think you're going to be doing now that you're a Chunin? Naruto looked up at Ayam as he finished devouring his first bowl of noodles, causing the ramen waitress to giggle as she saw a few noodles hanging out of his mouth. He slurped them up before giving her a grin. Well, I won't really be a part of Team 7 anymore. Tsunade-bachan told me that she's going to have me gain more experience by moving around teams. Sometimes I'll be with Jonin and other Chunin and other times she's going to have me leading squads of Genin. Does it bother you that you won't be with that Sakura girl anymore? Truth be told, Ayam never liked Sakura because of the way she treated Naruto. Not really. Naruto shrugged. I got over her a long time ago, well, a few months ago. In any case, there are girls a lot better than Sakura out there. You mean like that blonde Kyomo Kunoichi who came here a few times? Ayam grinned a bit, amused to see Naruto blush. She came here quite often, you know, asking questions about what kind of person you were and what kinds of ramen you liked. Yeah, I kinda figured you two were the ones who gave her that information. They were really the only ones who knew anything solid about him besides Sarutobi, who was dead, and maybe Anko and Tenten. Then there's also that girl with the buns, Tenten, I think her name was, right? You hang out around here with her quite a bit. That's true. But I don't think I'm in a relationship with either of them. Naruto got his blush under control quicker than normal. Though I won't deny both of them are really cool to hang with. Not to mention both are hot, he thought to himself, not sure whether saying that out loud in front of a girl was a good idea. After all, so far most of the females he knew exploded over the simplest things. You just don't know when to keep your mouth shut is all. Kyubi's voice came up after hearing his thoughts. Hey! I'll have you know I've gotten a lot better at that. Oh really? Kyubi grinned as she combed her tails. Of course. I haven't said anything to upset anyone in the past week. What about Anko? Naruto shivered as he remembered how angry she was with his prank. That was different, she deserved it. And I knew what I was doing. Yeah, until her snakes tried to turn your balls blue. Naruto couldn't keep the scowl off his face. He could feel Kyubi's smug grin as he cut the connection. Are you okay, Naruto-kun? Naruto looked up to see Ayam looking at him with some concern. He gave her a reassuring grin. Of course I am Ne-chan. Now time to tackle that ramen. Ayam giggled a bit as Naruto began destroying the next poor bowl of ramen that was set in front of him. Good morning, Bachan. Naruto ducked under the customary paperweight that was thrown at his head as he hopped off the window sill. Disrespectful Gaki. Tsunade muttered with narrowed eyes. What do you want? Can't you see I'm busy? Naruto grinned. Yeah, because sitting here drinking sake is really hard work, right? Tsunade gawked at him. How did you? She flushed as she saw him tap his nose and remembered he could likely smell the sake on her from a mile away. Right, well, what are you here for? Naruto opened his mouth to speak before he saw something that made him frown. Bachan, did you know all the piles of your paperwork are in the wrong stacks? Huh? Tsunade stared at him blankly. What the hell are you talking about, brat? Sighing, Naruto created a Kage Bunshin that began rearranging the stacks of paperwork on her desk. You've mixed up the stacks for mission scrolls and all the paperwork is in the wrong order. The first one on the left is where all papers on internal issues within Konoha go, the next one is for external issues like alliances, and the third one is anything that the council gives you. Tsunade blinked in a dumb manner as she watched the younger blonde's clone organizing her papers. How do you know all of that, Gaki? Naruto shrugged. Would often spend several hours a day here when I was younger, hanging out with Ajisen. When I had started announcing that it was my dream to be Hokage, he let me help him file papers and whatnot. I was even allowed to pick out missions for teams on occasion. Right. Tsunade watched the clone finish its work and go up in a puff of smoke. So what can I do for you? I was actually hoping to get a mission from you. You're very fortunate then, Tsunade smirked. We have a surplus of missions available due to the state of our village after the invasion. Hold on a sec while I find you a suitable one. Naruto watched as Tsunade rummaged through a few piles before finding one she seemed to like and tossed it to him. You are the escort the Kazekage's children back to Suna and give the Sunagakure Council the new terms for our alliance. You will be staying there until they sign the terms before returning. Any questions? Nope, I think I'm good. So where do I meet them? Naruto pocketed the scroll. We've actually given them a hotel room until I could find someone to be their escort. Tsunade wrote the directions on a sheet of paper and handed it to the blonde. Make sure you're all packed and ready to go. I want you to head out within the next hour. Naruto gave Tsunade a two-fingered salute. I'll get right on that. By the way, Kage Bunshins really help take the workload off of paperwork. Naruto left after that, letting his last sentence sink in. When it did, Tsunade grinned. I think I love that Gaki. She created a Kage Bunshin and had it start working on her paperwork. Meanwhile, she grabbed a hidden bottle of sake and went over to the couch. Temari flipped another page of the magazine she was reading as she sat on the couch. It had been about a week since she and her brothers were let out of jail and given a place to stay until they could be sent back to Suna. And in all honesty, she could not complain about being forced to stay there. In the time they had been here, she had finally managed to get closer to Gaara. After her and Kankuru's little brother had apologized, she had been able to talk to him a lot more. Not that he really said anything, but he no longer threatened to kill her when she was near and listened as she talked. She was still a little wary of him, but her joy at finally having her youngest brother coming around overrode any fear she had from his previous psychotic disposition. A knock at the door interrupted her reading and she looked over at her brothers. Kankuru was sitting on a chair a little ways away, tinkering with Karasu after he had been allowed to have it back. Gaara was sitting on the couch next to her, watching some kind of anime on the TV. Who's gonna get that? Kankuru grunted as he looked up. Not me. I'll get it. Gaara stood up and made his way over to the door. He opened it up and blinked when he saw who it was. Can I help you, Uzumaki? The others snapped their heads over when they heard the name, remembering it from the Chunin exams. Naruto grinned as he looked at Gaara. How have you been, Gaara? Gaara raised an eyebrow, the only sign of being surprised by the blonde's friendly disposition. I have been fine, Uzumaki. He paused before remembering that it was polite to ask how someone was doing in return. And how are you? Oh, you know, same old, same old. I can't really complain. Naruto looked over at the other two. I'm actually here because Bachan's given me the mission to escort you back to Suna. Really? Temari asked as she walked towards the pair. I'm surprised it took so long for her to send us back. She's been here for a week. Naruto shrugged. I guess she was busy doing other things, though I didn't really ask her. Anyways, how long will it be before you guys can get ready? It should only take a few minutes, Temari said. Naruto nodded as Kankuro and Temari grabbed their scrolls and other equipment before he led them outside. As he and the now former Kazekage's children made their way to the west gate, the two gatekeepers, who Naruto noticed were the two who had hinged themselves into younger versions of themselves during the Chunin exams, grinned. Walking up to them, Naruto revealed his mission scroll to the pair, Chunin Uzumaki Naruto, with a mission to escort the Sabaku siblings back to Sunagakure. Kamizuki Izumo, a man wearing standard Chunin garb, had brown hair with one bang hanging over his face and a bandana-style headband, nodded as he marked the group down on the ledger he had next to him. Meanwhile, Hagane Kotetsu, who was also wearing the Chunin get-up but had spiky black hair, a goatee and a bandage over his nose, grinned, "Well, if it isn't the kid who almost cleaned out the entire Chunin exams. How've ya been? And you're the pair who had used those poorly disguised henges at the beginning of the exam to bar entrance to those who couldn't see past a genjutsu." Naruto grinned as the two looked a bit sheepish. "I've been good. Now that I've got my week-long break over with for my mission with Ero Sennin, I decided to get my groove back on." "Ero Sennin?" Kotetsu questioned as he handed the mission scroll back. "Yeah, you know Jiraiya. Big man, white hair, kabuki clothes, carries a large scroll around on his back." Naruto shrugged. "Ero Sennin." The two gate guards looked at each other before shaking their heads. "Kid, you must have balls of steel to be calling one of our most powerful ninja by such a name." "Oh, come on. The guy's a self-proclaimed super pervert, so of course he's going to get a name that's appropriate for him. Just like Tsunade's an old woman who hides behind a henge, therefore, her name is Bachan." The gate guards plus the Kazekage's children behind Naruto minus Gaara, sweat dropped at hearing the blonde call two of the most powerful ninja Konoha had ever produced by such derogatory names. "I take that back, kid, your balls must be made out of some kind of titanium to be saying stuff like that." Kotetsu shook his head. "Man, if Tsunade-sama heard you call her by that." "Who's to say she hasn't?" Naruto grinned before leaving with the Sabaku siblings. As the group walked away, the two Chunin watched the blonde go. Izumo shook his head before chuckling. "Well, with his reputation, I suppose we shouldn't have expected anything less." Kotetsu nodded as he grinned, "And now that we've seen what he's made of, I have no doubt the kid will go far." As the group hopped through the trees, Naruto remembered his first escort mission to Nami no Kuni and had to thank Kami that the people he was escorting were ninja and could move quickly. However, that still did not keep Naruto from feeling bored as they traveled on in silence. And so, being who he was, the blonde decided to make conversation with the group. "So how have you guys been since the invasion? Konoha didn't treat you too roughly, I hope?" "We wouldn't have had to be treated at all if it wasn't for you." Naruto heard Kankuru's mumble and turned to him with a grin. "Actually, you guys can thank Yugi-chan for knocking you out. All I did was keep your attention on me." Naruto shrugged. "Besides that, had you guys not actually tried to fight me and just taken Gaara and left, I doubt it would have happened." "Yugi-chan?" Kankuro blinked as he tried to place the name to a face. "Wasn't she that hot blonde Kyumo chick who beat you in the finals?" Naruto nodded. "Yep. I'm surprised you remembered." Kankuro gave a lecherous grin. Who could forget a fine piece of ass like that? "Ow." The puppet user rubbed the back of his head and glared at Temari, who had hit him with her fan. "I suggest you stop making perverted comments around me, Kankuro," Temari threatened as she held up her fan. "Unless you want to learn just how painful it is to sit with a metal fan shoved up your ass." Naruto chuckled a bit before getting a curious look on his face. "So how far is Suna, you guys?" Temari looked at him as she moved alongside to speak better. "If we keep going at this speed, it's about 3 days away." "Have you never been this far out of here?" Naruto shook his head. "No. In fact, I've only been out of the village twice now. Once when I went on a C-rank escort mission to Nami no Kuni, and recently when I had to bring Tsunade-bachan back so she could be Hokage." "I can't believe you would actually call the strongest kunoichi in the elemental nation something like that." Temari shook her head. Naruto grinned at her. "As I said to the gatekeepers, I call M as I see M. As the day continued, Naruto kept up a steady stream of conversation, mostly with Kankuro and Temari, since Gaara was not very talkative, though he did make the occasional comment. As nightfall came, Naruto had the group stop and set up camp. He sent a clone out to get some firewood and catch some food. While everyone ate, Naruto noticed Gaara was looking at him. Turning to the redhead, Naruto decided to see what he wanted. "Something on your mind, Gaara?" Gaara looked at him for a moment as if debating what to ask him. "I was just wondering, what was your life like in Konoha?" "You mean, was it similar to yours?" Naruto asked as he took a bite out of his fish. Gaara nodded and Naruto leaned back a bit in thought. "Well, I don't know how bad you had it. But my life up until I made Genin was pretty desolate. I never had anyone to hang out with or talk to. All the adults hated me, and that hate was passed on to their children. I remember being kicked out of shops, or being overpriced for basics goods like food, not to mention. Most of the food had been rotten by several months. Most of the adults would glare at me as I passed them on the streets. In the academy, most of the instructors did their best to ignore me, never answering any of the questions I had, berating me when I got something wrong. If it wasn't for the Hokage and a few others who saw me for me, I probably would have ended up like you had." Gaara nodded while the other two siblings stared at each other before Temari looked at the two. "What are you guys talking about?" "He's like me," Gaara said, as if that explained it all. "Like you?" Temari looked over at Naruto. "Wait. You mean you're a Jikinhuriki?" Naruto looked at the blonde for a moment before deciding to answer. "I guess since Gaara's one too, I can tell you. Though I would appreciate it if you didn't inform anyone else, this is an S-class secret after all." "Yes, I am a Jinchuriki like Gaara." "Which one do you hold?" asked Gaara. Naruto gave the redhead a grin. "Oh me. I hold Kyuchan." "Kyuchan?" Kankuro questioned with wide eyes. "Are you telling us that Kyubi, the Kyubi, is a girl?" Naruto nodded while Kankuro looked bug-eyed, Temari looked shocked before looking smug, and Gaara just looked confused. "I didn't know Bijou had genders." Naruto looked over at Gaara. "From what I understand, they don't. Kyubi is special, I guess you could say, in that she somehow gained a human form, which just happened to be female. I'm still waiting to hear the story on that one." All in due time, Naruto-kun. Kyubi smiled within her seal as she reread Ika tactics, not like she had anything better to do at the moment. "You still have to find some way to earn my respect before I give up more information." "That's not fair, Kyuchan." Naruto felt like whining. Kyubi rolled her eyes. "Tough." Naruto sighed as he looked at the three Sabaku siblings. "Yeah, she refuses to tell me anything about herself unless I find some way to earn enough of her respect that she'll give me the information." Gaara looked at the blonde in confusion, though it was hard to tell with his blank face. Naruto mused that the redhead would be a great gambler with that poker face. "So you get along with your Bijou?" "Of course, though I only actually met her recently, like a little less than 2 months ago. And even then it wasn't until a little over a week ago that we really started to get along." Naruto wondered how much time had passed since he had his beef with Orochimaru in the Forest of Death. So much had happened since then. "Though, I suspect you can imagine my surprise when I wake up and see a hot vixen with 2 fox ears looking at me." Kankuro looked at Naruto with an odd expression. "You mean to tell me that not only is the Kyubi a chick, but she's a hot chick?" Naruto grinned. "Amazingly hot, the tails and ears just add an exotic quality to her. Now who's laying it on thick?" "What? I just decided to try my hand at my newfound ability to charm women." "Nice try," Kyubi responded dryly, "but while I do not have experience with actual flirting, I have been at this far longer than you." Naruto chuckled a bit before he paused at hearing a grinding noise. Looking over to the source, he saw Temari glaring at him. "Is something wrong, Temari-san?" Realizing what she was doing, Temari put on a sweet smile that Naruto could tell was forced. "No, nothing's wrong. Naruto looked at her for a moment before shrugging her disposition off as some kind of thing women do. There was silence for the rest of the meal before everyone went to bed. Gaara surprised his siblings when he offered to stay up and take watch, claiming he couldn't sleep anyways. Deciding it would be a good idea to speak with a fellow Jinchuriki without the others, Naruto said he would stay up as well. So was it bad for you, living in Suna? Naruto asked as he looked at the redhead who sat a little ways away from him on another tree branch. Gaara looked over at Naruto before looking back into the forest. Yes. I remember the looks everyone gave me back in Suna. Unlike you, people had come to fear me. When I was younger I had tried many times to get the children my age to play with me, but because of my San's natural defense they had feared me. It didn't help that the rest of the population hated and feared me. Naruto could only barely make out the sad quality the redhead's eyes took as he spoke. The only person who had ever shown me any kindness was my uncle, Yashimaru, who had been ordered by the Kazekage to keep me from being a menace to others. But that ended when Yashimaru had been ordered by the Kazekage to kill me, feeling that I was a failure as a weapon. Naruto was barely able to hold in a gasp at hearing that. It was now blatantly obvious to the blonde why Gaara had ended up the way he did. If the Sandaime had ordered someone to assassinate him, he would have no doubt become a psychopathic killing machine as well. Why didn't he refuse the order? Gaara looked back at Naruto. A part of him wondered why he was telling the blonde so much, but another was relieved to be able to get this off his chest, and he felt that Naruto would be able to understand. He said that it was because he secretly hated me, that it was my fault my mother, his sister, had died. That was when you came up with the idea of relying only on yourself, huh? Gaara nodded and Naruto leaned back against the tree trunk. Well, I can certainly see why you came up with that. If Hokage Ajisen had ordered my assassination, I probably would have done the same. The pair was silent for a while, each giving into their own thoughts before Gaara decided to ask a question that had been bothering him since his defeat. Do you think I can be like you? Naruto opened his eyes and turned to look at Gaara. Like me? Yes. Can I be like you? Do you think it will be possible for me to gain the strength that comes from protecting people who are precious to me? Will I gain precious people? Naruto looked down in thought for a second before giving his fellow Jinchuriki a large grin. Of course you will. All you have to do is work at it. Gaara looked shocked, at least as shocked as was possible for Gaara as Naruto jumped onto his branch. It may be hard since a lot people in Suna probably still fear you, but it's far from impossible. The blonde plopped down beside Gaara. Besides, you already have 3 people who are close to you. I do? Gaara stared at Naruto for a few seconds. Who? Well, there's your 2 siblings for one. Naruto tilted his head towards the pair of tents where his brother and sister were. They may have been afraid of you, but you can tell from the fact that they never left your side that they still love you. Gaara thought about that for a moment. It was true, no matter how bad he had gotten or how many times he had threatened them, his 2 siblings had stayed with him, well, as much as they could. I guess you're right. Of course I'm right. Naruto laughed, and then you've got me as a friend as well. You? Gaara stared at him, and this time Naruto could see the surprise clearly evident on his face. You would be my friend? Even after I tried to kill you and destroy your village? I don't see why not. Naruto shrugged. Besides, it's not like the village was destroyed or anything, and you didn't kill anyone. The blonde paused for a second. Well, I don't think you killed anyone, you seemed far too busy with my clones. He shrugged. It did not really matter, everyone deserves a chance at friendship and happiness. Your Kazekage never gave you that chance, and I know how you feel. Therefore, it's only right we be friends. And besides, we Jinchuriki need to stick together. Right? Naruto saw Gaara's lip twitch slightly and figured it was the redhead's way of smiling. I would like that, Uzumaki-san. Good. Naruto stood up. Though if we're going to be friends you need to stop with the Uzumaki crap. Just call me Naruto. Very well, Naruto. A little ways away Temari had zipped her tent down a little bit and was listening in on the conversation. When it ended she crawled back inside of her sleeping bag as a smile made its way on her face. "Thank you, Uzumaki Naruto." Back in Konoha Team 7 was currently doing their usual D-rank missions. They would usually do around 2 or 3 a day due to the fact that a lot of the village needed to be repaired. As they finished up and walked towards the mission room, Sakura looked up at her sensei, Kakashi-sensei. "I was wondering why Naruto isn't doing these missions with us." Kakashi looked away from his book to look at the pinkette. "That's because Naruto is a chunin now." He ignored the shocked look from Sakura, though he also caught the jealous look from Sasuke. "I'm surprised you hadn't realized it yet." With the performance he showed during the chunin exams, it was obvious he was going to be promoted. Does that mean he won't be doing any more missions with us? The thought was kind of odd. Naruto had been a part of Team 7 since its founding, and not having him here felt wrong to Sakura in some way she could not fathom. "He will still do missions with us on occasion," Kakashi replied carefully. "However, because of his status we have him doing higher-ranked missions." Sakura seemed to accept this and nodded. But Sasuke had clenched his fists as he thought of the blonde going on higher-ranked missions. "I should have been allowed to become a chunin. Why is Naruto always surpassing me? Ever since we became Team 7 it's been like this. I feel like I'm standing still while the dope continues getting stronger." He held his neck for a moment as he felt the cursed seal pulse before the one containing it forced the power back down. After 3 days of traveling through the forest, Naruto and the others came upon the desert. The trip had been relatively easy and nothing major had happened. Naruto had continued talking with the 3 Suna ninja in an effort to get to know them better. He had even decided to disregard his first meeting with Kankuro and start over, though he still made fun of him for stealing his sister's makeup, much to the amusement of said sister and Gaara, not that you could actually tell from the latter. With Gaara he would often talk about their past experiences as Jikinhariki. He had learned from the redhead that unlike Naruto, he did not get along with his Bijou, and that even as they continued talking Shikaku was screaming for the blonde's blood. Naruto figured something was wrong with the seal. A containment seal, especially one holding a Bijou, should be strong enough to contain it completely so that it could not harm the container in any way. Kyubi had agreed with this as she explained some of what she knew about the blonde's own seal, and Naruto offered to take a look at it when they got to Suna. His conversations with Temari were a little awkward. He refused to neglect talking to her, and would often ask questions about what it was like being in Suna and some of her missions. However, he had never forgotten what she had tried to do to Tenten. And even though he felt no animosity towards her, was a little distant all the same. Temari found it awkward for a similar reason. Now that he was actually paying attention to her, she felt bad about the way she had treated his friend, but could not work up the courage to apologize. "Dear sweet Kami. It's so hot out here." Naruto griped as he and the Suna trio ran through the desert. "How the hell can people deal with this Kami-forsaken heat?" Kankuro smirked, seemingly finding amusement in the blonde's plight. "Can't take the heat?" Naruto glared at the puppet user. "Of course not. I come from a forest. Let's see you change from 60 and 70-degree weather to 100 and above." Temari gave a small giggle while Kankuro snorted in laughter. "I can't believe you. Kid, someone strong enough to beat Gaara is complaining about being hot. Suck it up, you're a man, aren't you?" "More of a man than you, makeup boy," Kankuro growled before Naruto smirked. "You of all people have no right to comment on my gender, seeing as how you steal makeup from that cute sister of yours." Temari felt a small blush coming on her cheeks that no one but Gaara noticed. "What was that?" Kankuro ground out. "You want to say that again? Do I need to repeat myself?" Naruto gave an amused grin. Before Kankuro could erupt, Gaara interrupted them. "As amusing as it is to see you two squabble, we'll be arriving in Suna shortly." Only a few minutes after Gaara informed them of that, they had arrived at Suna's main entrance. After letting Temari deal with the gate guards, they were told to meet a man named Baki at the Kazekage Tower. As the group made their way through the gates and into the village proper, the first thing that Naruto caught was the looks of fear on the villagers' faces. He knew this fear was not directed at him. He could already see their eyes on Gaara as they backed away from them. Naruto found himself disgusted by the people. Had it not caused more problems, he would have probably beat the shit out of them. You know, I don't know whether to find it amusing or disgusting. The Sabaku siblings turned to look at the blonde as he shook his head. Why is it that people seem to fear Jinchuriki when it's others like the former Kazekage who are the ones that create them? It never made sense to me, calling people like Gaara monsters when all people like him are is a byproduct of power-hungry fools. Naruto had spoken the words loud enough that everyone around him could hear them. The blonde took the time to note people's expressions. Some looked disgruntled or hateful at the comments on their former leader, others had not changed from the fear they exuded of Gaara. But Naruto also noticed a few thoughtful faces amongst the crowd. With some doubt planted in the minds of some, perhaps there was hope for some change. He looked over at the Sabaku siblings and grinned at their shocked expressions. Well, just stating my thoughts. Sorry. The rest of the walk was silent as they made their way to the Kazekage Tower. Like everything else, the tower was made of sandstone. It was a large dome-like structure that was situated in the center of the village. Within the seal, Kyubi shook her head at the typical Naruto action. You know, Naruto-kun, that was a very kind thing you did. You think so? Naruto questioned. Well, I just figured I should help in some way, you know. I know, Kyubi said as she thought about her container and his desire to help others. She knew that she would never help another for no reason other than that it was the right thing to do. It actually kind of impressed her. Most beings, herself included, were very selfish. You continue to impress me. I think for that I'll tell you a little about myself when you come into the seal tonight. Naruto perked up at that. Really? Of course. Kyubi's voice betrayed her amusement. Cool. Naruto looked up and noticed they were entering the Kazekage's office. Showtime. As the four walked in, they saw a man with the standard Suna Jonin outfit, which was basically the same as Konoha's except tan and dark brown instead of blue and green, sitting in the office. He had a veil covering the left side of his face and dark black eyes. Naruto recognized him as the trio's Jonin sensei. Baki-sensei. Temari said in surprise. Baki looked up and smiled. Hello Temari, Kankuro, Gaara, it is good to see you three are well. Gaara stepped forward a bit. Likewise sensei, I'm pleased you were not killed during the invasion. Naruto noticed the slight widening of Baki's eyes, the only sign of him being surprised. However, the man was not a Jonin for nothing and covered it up quickly. Thank you Gaara. The man turned towards Naruto. I was informed by a carrier hawk that you have the new terms for the alliance. Naruto nodded as he stepped forward, digging into his pouch and handing the scroll over. Yep, here it is. Thank you. Baki took the scroll and set it on the desk. The council will hold a meeting tomorrow in order to go over the terms of our alliance, but it may take a day or two before we actually sign it. If you want, I can get you a hotel while you wait. Naruto opened his mouth to accept the offer, but Temari decided to interrupt. Actually, you can stay with us if you want. Her two brothers looked at her in surprise. Naruto did as well, blinking a few times as he registered her words. Are you sure? I mean, I don't want to be a burden or anything. You won't be a burden, Gaara said. I agree with Temari, and we have more than enough room to accommodate you. Naruto scratched the back of his head and gave a grin. Well, if you guys are sure, I wouldn't mind staying. It will be nice not being alone for a change. If that is the case, then the only thing left for me to do would be to congratulate you three on your promotions. The three Suna ninja looked at Baki in surprise. Well, Kankuro and Temari did. Gaara just raised an eyebrow as usual. The three of you did very well. And even though Kankuro did not fight his match, we have decided to promote all of you. You guys know what that means, don't you? Everyone looked at Naruto, who had a grin on his face. we need to have a party to celebrate. Kaki nere sanzai wa koko niiru2. Arata na tabi ga ima hajamaru, kawari yuku kazetsu no naka wa ikinaku tabi ni bokura chia tetsuyosa wa te ni irita kido nagaretaku jiken no naka ni okazari ni shita omoi wa wajarita koto sura wajarit ita, Naruto. Temari, and just about everybody else watched in a mixture of amusement and shock as a drunk Kankuro and Gaara sang karaoke at one of the local bars. Well, it was more of Naruto being amused and everyone else being shocked. The blonde looked over at his companion for the moment and grinned, "How come you're not up there with them?" Temari looked at Naruto and smirked, "Because unlike them I can hold my liquor. Neither Kankuro nor Gaara have ever drank anything before." "I didn't know you drink." Naruto took a sip of his sake, relishing the nice slow burn it gave on its way down his throat. He reminded himself that he would have to take the Toad Boss's offer of a drink when he summoned him the next time. "I don't often," Temari shrugged, following her fellow blonde's actions. "But I have on occasion during some of my diplomatic missions. I was the only one that was usually sent due to the fact that Gaara was always more than likely to kill whoever hired him and Kankuro, well, just look at him." Naruto did and did not bother holding in the laugh that escaped. "Yeah, I can see why you wouldn't want him on a diplomatic mission. Honestly, with that makeup and cat suit I'm more afraid of him than I would be of Gaara." Temari smiled, "That's just because you can beat Gaara." "Maybe," Naruto shrugged. Honestly, if they fought again and Gaara was actually saying he was not sure who would win. Plus they were in a desert now, Gaara had a whole country of sand that he could bury the blonde under if they fought here. The thought of being buried under several thousand square miles of sand made him shudder. "You know, I don't think I ever asked this." When Temari was sure Naruto was paying attention, she continued. "How long have you been a genin?" Naruto blinked at the odd question but figured she was just trying to make conversation. "About 6 months all told. Well, maybe 7 now." "That's it?" Temari's eyes widened a bit, causing Naruto to chuckle. "You must be some kind of super genius to gain enough strength to take on Gaara after only 6 months as a real ninja." Naruto grimaced, "Please don't call me that. Unlike most geniuses, I actually trained hard for my skills. In fact, my training would probably kill most people." "You don't like that title?" Temari asked, curious. "It's not that I dislike geniuses," Naruto grimaced again. "It's just that every year in Konoha some new genius comes out of the academy. Seriously, both Neji and Sasuke were considered geniuses of their year, and I kicked Neji's ass, badly I might add. And I'm pretty sure that Sasuke would not stand a chance against me either. Yet everyone thinks he's like the second coming of the Yondaime Hokage or something, though I think that's just because he's the last of the Uchiha clan. Naruto ended his speech in quotation marks. Temari giggled a bit, causing Naruto to grin. He looked back over at Kankuro and Gaara, sweat dropping as he saw the two were really out of it, yet they still managed to keep singing. "I think it's about time we got them off the stage. I'm pretty sure Gaara is actually scaring the villagers more than usual." Later that night Temari had led Naruto to her large mansion as two Kage Bunshin were shouldering Kankuro, who was passed out from drinking, and Gaara, who was still awake but muttering something about teddy bears. As Naruto's clone set the pair down in their beds, the Real Naruto looked at Gaara with a thoughtful frown. "Hey Kyuchan, how come Gaara's not recovering from the alcohol like I do?" Kyubi yawned a bit before answering, "That's because aside from you being a Hanyu, Shikaku's power is different from mine. Each Jinchuriki comes with different abilities given to them by their Bijou. Shikaku gives Gaara his sand shield while I gave you regenerative abilities." She gave a dismissive flick of her tails. "Don't worry about him too much, he will still recover in a few hours or so." Naruto nodded before he left the room and found Temari waiting for him. "Let me show you to your room, Naruto-kun." Naruto blinked as he heard the added suffix but was not given time to think on it as Temari grabbed him by the hand and led him to where he would be staying. "Here we are. This is where you'll stay until you leave." Thanks Mari-chan, Naruto grinned at the girl. Mari-chan? Temari felt her face heat up at the nickname. Truth be told, while Temari was considered to be one of the most beautiful kunoichi in Suna, she had never really gotten an opportunity to date anyone. While in Suna everyone knew her as the demon sister and stayed away from her, and when she went out she only seemed to attract perverts. Naruto was different. She could tell he was still kind of perverted, but it did not seem to rule over him like it did most males. And he was not actually hitting on her. She could tell that for the most part his ability to make her blush had been unintentional. Because of this, being around Naruto was always kind of awkward, though not always in a bad way. She watched as Naruto opened the door and bit her lip. Wait. Naruto turned around and raised an eyebrow at the now pensive female blonde. Yes? Something wrong? No, Temari paused before looking down. I wanted to apologize. She looked up and saw Naruto's confusion, so decided to elaborate. When I was fighting your friend, that girl with the buns, I was overly cruel. I'm sorry. Naruto looked at her for a while and Temari began to squirm a bit. Being the daughter of the Kazekage, she never really had to deal with this kind of thing, and had never apologized to anyone, so she was a bit uncomfortable. After a few seconds, however, Naruto merely gave her a soft smile. It's fine, I'm not angry or anything. I mean, yeah, I was at first, but I don't like to live in the past. Besides, Naruto grinned, I could never stay mad at such a beautiful girl. Temari blushed as Naruto made his way inside the bedroom she had given him. The next day was for the most part filled with boredom. Because Naruto was something of an ambassador, he was forced to listen to the Suna Council nitpick over the new alliance agreement, despite the fact that everyone knew they were going to sign it. Anyway, the agreement would actually help improve their village far more than the previous one did. It made Naruto wonder why they were so adamant on arguing over the damn thing. Thankfully, Baki had told him that he only needed to be at the first meeting as a formality and that he would not be forced to sit through the negotiations after that. Sometime after the first meeting, Naruto found himself back in the Sabaku mansion looking over Gaara's seal. As he did, a frown made its way on his face. Well, I was right, the seal, while not terrible, is far too weak and shoddy to properly contain a demon. So what's wrong with it? Asked Temari, who was sitting next to Gaara and watching the preceding events. Nothing, Naruto shrugged, there is technically nothing wrong with the seal. Like I said, it's just weak, too weak to hold back the power of a demon. So what are we supposed to do? Temari looked worried. If there was nothing wrong with the seal, then how could they help Gaara? Naruto looked at her and grinned. Well, unfortunately, because I'm not a seal master, I can't do anything. I mean, I could try, but the chances of me breaking the seal and killing Gaara are too high to risk it. However, Ero Sennin is supposed to be a premier Fuinjutsu master. I'll have him make a run by Suna when he's out of the village and take a look at the seal. It should be possible for him to place a seal over the one Gaara has now to limit the amount of freedom the Shikaku has in Gaara's mind. That would also allow Gaara to get some sleep, since the only reason the blasted sandbag can whisper to him is thanks to the seal being so damn weak. As everyone digested what Naruto told them, said blonde took out several sealing tags. In the meantime, he can use these. Ero Sennin helped me make them for me if I ever lost control of Kyuchan's Yuki while training in it. Gaara sat up and pulled his shirt back down before taking one of the seals. He looked at it before turning his gaze to Naruto. What is it? That, my friend, is a Yuki suppression seal, Naruto grinned. Ero Sennin and I developed it when we were searching for Tsunade-bachan. What it does is forcibly suppress the demonic Yuki of a bijou. These things can only go suppress about 3 taels worth of power, but for Shikaku they should work like a charm. Those will allow you to sleep until Jiraiya comes to check out the seal. How many of them do you have? Gaara looked at the seal and everyone could see the small amount of hope in his eyes. On me? I only have about 5, but I know how to make them, so I can create as many as you want so long as I'm given the necessary supplies. Naruto clicked his tongue for a second before grinning. Give me enough ink and sealing paper and I'll make a 2-year supply. that should be more than enough to last until Erosenin comes. Temari and Kankuro looked from Gaara over to Baki, who, while shocked that this boy was so willing to help, of course after hearing him call his bijou Kyuchan he supposed he shouldn't be, nodded. I can arrange that. While sealing is not very renowned in this village, we should be able to get the necessary supplies. I think I'm going to take one of these now and get some rest. Gaara stood up. Alright, just make sure to attach it to your skin. Your Suna no Yoroi has to be turned off or it won't work. Thank you Naruto. Gaara surprised everyone by giving a small bow of gratitude before he left to get some sleep. Naruto stretched a bit as he stood up, grinning in satisfaction as he felt his bones pop. Well, that was fun. Now I just have to wait for the council to sign that damned alliance, and if they're anything like the floozies in Konoha that could take a while. Everyone had a laugh at that while Naruto hummed, so what exactly do you guys do for fun over here? I mean, I would go out drinking again, but Makeup Boy was such an embarrassment the last time, what with being a lightweight and all that singing he did. Temari laughed while Kankuro growled, hey! My singing is awesome. Did you see me up there? I was rocking the house. If by rocking you mean the spastic swaying motions you were making while pissed drunk, then yes, you were rocking the house, Naruto grinned. Temari covered her mouth to hold in her giggle while Kankuro looked about ready to pop a blood vessel. The blonde Suna Kunoichi stood up. If you want I can offer you a tour around the Suna. Naruto looked over at the girl and grinned, would like that Mari-chan. The pair of blondes found themselves walking around Suna with Temari pointing out anything she could have think of that looked interesting. Though, Naruto wondered how she was able to even see where certain things were since the girl currently had her head on his shoulder and her eyes were closed. It was like she had some kind of sixth sense or something. Not that he was really thinking too heavily on that, having found most of his attention on the girl whose head was on his shoulder and whose arms were wrapped around his. That and the fact that she has my arms smashed between her pillows, Naruto thought, fighting a bit to keep the blush off. Really, he felt he should have been used to this by now, what with all the crap he went through with Anko, and then the flirting that Yujito had done with him when they were together. I mean, I had my ass pinched in public. You really can't get much friendlier than that. Well, I suppose you could, but ga. Mind out of the gutter Naruto. Forcibly suppressing the admittedly lewd thoughts that had entered his head, the blonde took a moment to look around. They had somehow managed to locate a park. Really, it was just a basic kids' playground with a few objects of children entertainment like a seesaw, a swing, and a small climbing structure. Oh, I haven't been here in forever. Temari said as she let go of Naruto's arm and sat on one of the swings. She looked over at Naruto and hid a grin as she gave him a pout. Naruto-kun, do you think you can give me a little push? Naruto blushed a bit, finding the way she bit her lower lips and bat her eyelashes to be absolutely sexy. Maybe Anko was on to something when she said any kunoichi would be able to wrap me around their finger. Especially since I have yet to see an ugly kunoichi. Sure. Naruto dutifully ignored the giggle Temari let out as he walked behind her and began to push her. This would continue on for some time with Naruto pushing Temari while said Suna Kunoichi kicked her legs out on the upswing. They stopped when the sun began to set and Temari got another idea. Temari looked at Naruto with a predatory grin that made the blonde gulp. Why do I feel like an antelope being stalked by a lion? How about we go out to dinner? A little while after that, Naruto and Temari had walked around Suna until Temari had picked a place where she wanted to eat. It was nothing really fancy, just a simple restaurant that thankfully for Naruto had ramen. As Naruto ate his food, using a lot more poise than came naturally since this could very well be considered a date, much like his time with Yujito, he looked up at Temari. Hey, I was wondering something. Temari looked up at Naruto. What is it? Well, I was just curious why you don't have a boyfriend. Temari narrowed her eyes a bit at the reminder. It was fortunate for Naruto that he had continued, I mean, you're such nice and pretty girl, I just found it odd that you wouldn't have one. Temari's eyes softened and a blush stained her cheeks. She looked at him for a second and was surprised to see nothing more than honest curiosity. What makes you think I don't have one? Naruto blinked at the question before answering. Well, if you did, I doubt you would have asked me out to dinner. I mean, if I was your boyfriend and saw you with some guy, I would probably kill them. If anything, the blush that was spread across her cheeks became more prominent, but a smile came on Temari's face as she answered the question. I'm surprised you haven't figured it out. At her fellow blonde's look of confusion, she laughed. I'm the daughter of the Kazekage. A lot of the males in Suna are put off by that, and even our shinobi have some issues getting past it. If that's not enough, I'm also Gaara's sister. Well, that explained things well enough for Naruto, who nodded in reply. The only people who have actually shown an interest in me were some of the sons of rich nobles and daimyos that I had met and escorted. There have even been a few daimyos themselves who have expressed an interest in me. Temari said the words expressed with distaste, and Naruto heard a mutter of perverted old men added on at the end. I suppose that would keep people from actually trying to get to know you. What about you? Temari asked suddenly enough that it startled Naruto. I mean, you were awfully close to that bun-haired girl I fought and that Yujito girl. Naruto blushed a bit before getting himself under control. Well, they're not my girlfriends per se, that I don't have a girlfriend or anything, I'm just really close to those two. Tenchan was the first friend my age that I ever made, and Yujito. He paused for a moment, not sure if he was allowed to tell anyone about Yujito's status before remembering that Jinchuriki were looked up to in Kumo. Yujito is like me and Gaara. Temari felt surprise at the two statements, though she now understood why Naruto seemed so close to those two. She had listened in on Naruto's conversation with Gaara when he spoke about his experiences, so of course he would be close to that Tenten girl as she was his first friend. And it made even more sense with the Kumo Kunoichi, Yujito, since she could relate to Naruto on a level most others could not. I suppose that makes sense. So you don't have a girlfriend? No, Naruto shook his head. I don't, but even I tried to get one. There are complications that make it impossible for me to have a stable relationship with anyone. Temari frowned a bit at the response, but it was soon replaced with curiosity. What could keep you from being in a relationship with anyone? Naruto frowned for a moment before leaning in, forcing Temari to do the same. I suppose since you're related to Gaara, it's okay to tell you. I doubt you've heard, since even Ero Sennin's only found out about this recently, but there's a group of 9 S-ranked criminal ninja that are after the bijou. He heard Temari gasp a bit and nodded. Naturally, that makes my life even more dangerous than a regular ninja. We don't know what they want them for. However, a group of criminals on that level trying to gain that much power, you can be sure it's anything but good. Sighing, Naruto leaned back in his chair. I could never give myself to someone else knowing that the chances of me dying are so high. It was not the only reason, of course. There was also the fact that even if he did end up in a relationship, anyone he got with would eventually die, whether it be of old age or something else. They would die while he would live. Temari frowned sadly at hearing that. That sounds like it will be awfully lonely. It is, but it's not like I'm just closing myself off. I will do whatever I can to make my precious people happy, and that's good enough for me. Precious people? Temari murmured in a questioning tone. She looked up at Naruto and blushed a bit. Am I one of your precious people? Naruto looked at Temari for a few moments before grinning. Maybe. Why do you ask? Do you want to be? Temari just blushed while Naruto laughed. Later that night, Naruto and Temari walked to the mansion and, being the chivalrous bastard that he was, escorted the girl to her room. Thank you for taking me out. Temari turned around to face Naruto and give him a smile. Naruto smiled in return, though it was more of a sheepish grin as he scratched the back of his head. Hee, no problem, Mari-chan. I liked spending time with you. That's good, I liked spending time with you as well. Temari looked down at her feet for a moment as if to gather her courage. When she looked up again, Temari leaned in and gave Naruto a kiss on the cheek. She pulled away and smiled when she saw the blonde shinobi with a prominent blush on his face as he lightly touched the spot where she had kissed him. That was for giving me such an enjoyable time. Temari gave him a wink. Also, I don't think you should worry about those guys who are after you. You're one of the strongest ninja I know, after all, not many people can beat Gaara. So I know you'll be fine. Good night, Naruto-kun. Naruto watched as Temari closed the door to her room before a smile found its way on his face. Hot damn, what is it with these girls being so close to me all of a sudden? Are you complaining? Came the annoyed voice of Kyubi. She did not really know why, but seeing her container with that girl or any female really, gave her an unpleasant feeling. However, Naruto did not notice the annoyance in her tone as he spoke, of course not. Who could complain about that? I was just wondering what it is I'm doing differently from what I had done in the academy. Kyubi shook her head at how dense her container was. Does it matter? Now get to your room and come into the seal. Yes, ma'am. Naruto made his way to the room they gave him, which he loved due to the fact that it was larger than his apartment. He took off his clothes and jumped onto the bed, not even bothering to get under the covers as he went into the confines of his mind.
That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.